What is going on? Welcome back to the OG Frenchie. Appreciate you clicking on the video and watching me make a knife. Today, that is what I'm doing. I'm going to be making a knife out of this scrap piece of twist Damascus. And if you look close enough, it's kind of hard to see, but it almost looks like little tiger stripes along this blade. This is a pretty low layer twist piece of Damascus, but it's a cutoff and it's one that I didn't want to chuck and throw away. So we're going to be turning it into a little friction folder. So without further ado, let's jump into this thing. I'm going to show you my process of making a friction folder. That way you'll know how to make one and you'll know that you can make actual good blades with your scrap steel. This thing was about yay long, and it was decently wide, but it was yay long. And so on a live stream a few weeks ago or a week ago, I put this in the forge and lengthened it out enough to be able to make a blade out of it. So it just goes to show that some of your leftover scraps can be used up for stuff like that. And I have back here a whole bucket of leftover scraps. This one's probably too small to do anything with, but here is a piece of Damascus, and it is just as big as that one was. Here's another piece off of a billet. So even though these look like trash, you can definitely make blades out of them, and that's precisely what we're doing. Let me quit yapping. Let's get into it. now that we have the blade properly thermocycled, we're ready to quench. You can see this large piece of rebar I used to heat up my oil. I leave the oil outside and it was probably 40 degrees when I did this, so that helps bring the oil up to the correct temperature. Another great thing to do is to watch the time that you have your blade in the forge prior to quenching it. You want to allow adequate time for the metal to move around and do its thing before you austenitize it. And you can see I held for about 10 minutes at 1525 before dunking it in the oil. Now that it's quenched, it went really well. I put it into the oven and I'm doing two-hour cycles at 400 degrees. And while that's in the oven tempering, I like to work on the handle. So here I am cutting out the pieces. I also use a knife to scratch up the pieces, and that way when I go to glue it up, the epoxy will have an extra place to hold on to. It just helps when you have a rough surface sometimes for that epoxy to have a little area to grip. The glue up process is pretty simple, and it's kind of my standard 3-piece segmented scale setup. I really like doing this. And once we've got them glued up, I just bring them to the bandsaw real quick and give them a quick trim. All right, so now that we have the scales put together and most of the extra trimmed off of there, we still have a lot of work left to do to kind of line these up and kind of get them uniform. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into grinding the blade. I have already heat treated this and I have tempered it at 400 degrees for two-hour cycles. You can kind of almost see the pattern there, kind of like some zebra stripes almost. But this is what it looks like out of the oven. It came out pretty well dead straight. We just need to knock all of this decarb and oil residue and forge scale buildup from heat treating it off of there so that we can get a proper etch. If you don't get all of this layer off of the surface, it's going to cause problems when you go to etch it. So I've got a 60 grit belt. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing I did prior to heat treating this to thin it out. Just use my magnet, push it up against this flat glass platen that I have on the house-made platen. This is a great addition to the platen. It is relatively inexpensive. You can find these on Amazon and they just self-attach to your platen. And I've been rocking this one now for a while. You can see it really doesn't wear away. It's really nice and flat. I'd highly recommend getting one of these. They work really well. So we're going to do that. We're going to knock all of this schmutz off the outer surface. And then we're going to continue on. So let's get after it. Can't leave any schmutz on your blade. So now that we've taken the time to clean the blade up and remove the rest of that forge scale, we're ready to knock in the bevels. I am using the 4-inch contact wheel that comes with the platen of the house-made Generation 5 Revolution grinder. And you can see I have the platen just tilted back, so I don't even have to change out any tooling arms. I'm just moving the platen back so that I have access to this 4-inch contact wheel. This gives me the opportunity to talk about the house-made grinder. What a wonderfully versatile machine. I am still incredibly happy with this purchase. It is really upped my game in knife making. I've got tons of different grinding options with this machine, and I absolutely love it. Now, I still use the Grizzly grinder. Here I am working on the handle scales. And the main reason for that is because I have a lot of good belts left of the 2x42 variety, and it's just a really good place for me to use them up. Now, the Grizzly still will chew metal. It just handles the wood and handle materials a little better, so that's typically what I do. These segmented scales that I'm using are pretty cool. I've got blue jute micarta that I'm drilling through here, and then the piece of wood I believe is either rosewood or desert ironwood, one of the two. And then the back section that's black is richlight. Now I have a couple of little spacers in between those, but I think it's a pretty cool set of handle scales. You have some natural material and some man-made material all in one. Here you can see I'm really taking my time drilling out this second hole, which is the stopping pin. It's incredibly important to get this in the right spot. So once I'm sure that the drill bit has touched the center of my point that I hit in there, I continue drilling this thing out. If you get this even a little bit off, then you pretty much are screwed. So you really have to pay attention and make sure you get that right. All right, so now that we have the holes drilled in our handle scales, we are one step closer to completing this blade. I feel like this is a pretty good spot to stop for this episode. We got the majority of the metal work done. We got the blade made, profiled, we ground bevels in, and really all we have to do with this is to hand sand and etch it before we hook it up to this, and then we're going to be finishing out the handle, putting it all together in the next episode. This will be the very first Damascus friction folder I have ever made, and I'm excited to see what it looks like when it's all thrown together. I can tell you from heat treating this blade and getting a sneak peek at the pattern, it does look really cool. It's almost like tiger stripes from the twisting process, just vertical stripes down the blade. I think that will look really cool with the segmented scales, and hopefully we'll get this thing to look pretty cool once it's all said and done. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. I know I have other friction folder videos out there that go a little bit more in depth, but hopefully you got a few takeaways from this episode. I would say the number one takeaway, at least for this video and this time, is the placement of your holes that you drill. I feel like that is really important, especially on a friction folder. You can see that we got pretty lucky on this one, and they match up really well. When you go to close it, you can see that metal hug this pin all the way down to the end, and then when it stops, it's just about in the right position there. You'll still see a little bit of this blade portion or the spine of the blade in the closed position, but the majority of the cutting edge will be hidden inside of the handle. So that part turned out really cool, and there you go, fully open. It should have a nice profile on out, and then a bit of a swoop on the end. Should be pretty cool. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for tuning in for this one. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, where we turn this baby into one sweet friction folder. Also, too, just to remind you, we are still doing the knife build, the viewer challenge portion of the knife making edition. God damn it. Also, just wanted to say that we're still... I also wanted to say that we still have the Knife Making Challenge Viewer Edition going, and it's not too late to get involved with that. We're asking you to turn any sort of rasp into any kind of kitchen blade, and you have from now until the end of the year to complete a build, take a picture of it, and email that picture to me at theogfrenchyyt@gmail.com. That will get you entered in to win the prizes that I went out and got. So I'm really excited to see some of the entries start to come in. I've been talking with lots of you guys out there, and I'm really excited about this. I also just talked with another maker. His name is Eric. He has his own YouTube channel, and I'm sure if you watch me, you may already know who he is. He has the Rivers Experience channel, an excellent knife maker. He said he would be sending me some mosaic pins to add to the pot for the winners. So I'm really excited to see those. I'm really pumped up about it. I hope you guys are too. Spread the word as well. If you guys know somebody that's into making knives and isn't aware of the challenge, let them know, get them involved, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. Really appreciate you guys very much. Catch you in the next one. Peace.
3, 2, 1.
This video proudly brought to you by the fine people at Housemade Industrial. Whether you're new to knife making or a seasoned pro, visit housemade.us to up your game with affordable quality gear.